Today is Wednesday, June 12th. We'll tell you about the verdict in Hunter Biden's criminal trial and the response from his dad, the president. Also, a sad reality for soldiers and a new COVID variant to know about. Plus, what happens to the bodies of space tourists after just one trip to space? How a new proposal could wipe medical debt from credit scores. And why a record-breaking longtime champion is now banned from the most popular hot dog eating contest. Those stories and even more news to know today coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. For the first time in history, the child of a sitting president has been convicted of a federal crime. A jury found Hunter Biden guilty of 3 felonies related to buying a gun while he was addicted to drugs back in 2018. Remember, over the course of this trial, jurors heard highly personal details about Hunter's years-long struggle to stay sober, including evidence he used drugs around the time he bought the gun. The defense team tried to argue the president's son was not on drugs at the exact time he bought the gun, that he was in recovery, and it is possible Biden's team could appeal. For now, though, Hunter Biden could face up to 25 years in prison, though as a first-time offender, he's expected to get a much lighter sentence. In response, President Biden said he will accept the outcome of this case and respect the judicial process. In other words, he will not pardon his son, even though he could. He also said, as a dad, he's still so proud of the man Hunter Biden is now, referring to his recovery from drug addiction. It's not clear yet when the younger Biden will face his sentencing hearing. But Hunter is expected to also face a different trial on tax charges this September, which could feature even more details about his past lavish spending and lifestyle. And all of these details are expected to be talked about a lot in the presidential race. As you know, the verdict came just weeks after former President Trump himself was convicted of 34 felony crimes. In his case, it was falsifying business records to cover up another crime. So, of course, politicians on both sides of the aisle have been bringing up the cases involving the candidates. Expect those conversations to continue, at least until the election in November. Once again, the U.S. government has shifted its policy when it comes to supplying Ukraine with weapons. Now, the U.S. State Department says it has lifted a decade-long rule that restricted American weaponry, training, and other assistance from reaching a controversial Ukrainian military unit. There are concerns about the group's origins, that some of its founders stood for racist, xenophobic, and ultra-nationalist views. UN human rights officials have also accused the group of humanitarian violations. But the brigade's leadership says it shed those associations long ago, and that its commanders are different now than they were in that era. And here in the U.S., the State Department says it's done its own review and has not found any evidence of human rights violations. So with that, the unit will have access to the same American military assistance as any other unit in Ukraine. Meanwhile, reports say another one of America's best air defense weapons is headed to Ukraine this week. This is the second so-called Patriot system that will be used to fend off Russia's attacks. It's extremely powerful and expensive, worth about $1.1 billion. In the past, the U.S. has held off on supplying them because there aren't that many in the stockpile, and they require sophisticated training. This one has apparently been protecting American troops stationed in Poland, who are now returning to the U.S. So it's available. A couple of other allies have also sent Patriot systems to Ukraine recently as Russia ramps up its attacks. There's some concerning new data coming out of the Pentagon this week. The U.S. Justice Department did a 5-year study and found American soldiers were almost 9 times more likely to die by suicide than by enemy fire. From 2014 to 2019, the study says suicide was actually the leading cause of death among active duty soldiers. And unfortunately, since then, suicide has only increased among active duty soldiers. Army officials spoke to USA Today about the trend, saying the increasing rates of suicide in American society as a whole are what's reflected in their ranks. They also said they're working on new tactics to prevent suicide. Just last year, the defense secretary outlined a strategy that included more access to mental health counseling and incentives for safely storing firearms. The Pentagon also plans to hire as many as 2,000 people over the next 4 years to focus on preventing problem behaviors like excessive drinking. There is a new dominant COVID-19 variant circulating in the U.S. It's called KP3, which comes from the Omicron variant. The CDC says it now accounts for about 1/4 of all COVID cases in the U.S., and it's only expected to become more common. The symptoms, though, are pretty much the same as they have been with other strains, like fever, cough, sore throat, headache, fatigue, loss of taste and smell, and so on, though symptoms can definitely vary by person. The only real difference the CDC has seen with KP3 as compared to other variants is this one might be a little better at evading people's immune systems. This information comes just days after an FDA panel met to discuss updates to the COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax each say they're prepared to make vaccines to target this latest variant that can become available in August. The FDA just needs to give them the go-ahead. We have more news for you still ahead. But first, a shout out to our sponsor, CrunchLabs. CrunchLabs Build Box is a STEM subscription where your kids get a really fun build-it-yourself toy in the mail. I actually put one of them together with my 3-year-old son since he always loves to see how things work. So even though we had to do it as a team because he's still too young to do it on his own, we both loved this project together and had fun playing with the final creation at the end. Older kids can build this on their own, and parents, that will of course make your life easier as you get a little time to yourself to get things done or relax. In fact, this summer, Camp CrunchLabs is perfect for kids around 8 and older. It's a virtual summer camp where kids get 12 build-it-yourself toys with one shipped every week. It's going to get your kids thinking like little engineers and showing off their newly built toys to their friends. They also get access to exclusive videos and weekly challenges. So last year, more than 1 million people tuned in each week to watch camp and try their luck at these challenges. So get this limited Camp CrunchLabs subscription and you get 2 boxes free, which is a $60 value. Simply go to crunchlabs.com/newsworthy to sign your kids up for Camp CrunchLabs today. Again, get 2 boxes free when you sign your kiddos up for Camp CrunchLabs at crunchlabs.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. It turns out even a short trip to space can have a big impact on the human body. At least that's according to new research on 4 space tourists. While they were in space, the amateur astronauts aboard a SpaceX flight collected samples of blood, skin, saliva, and more. Researchers analyzed the samples and found big shifts in cells and changes to the immune system, similar to the shifts that happen to professional astronauts who spend months in space. The good news is most of the changes stabilized in the months after the space tourists returned home, so they didn't face any long-term health consequences. Still, researchers hope they'll now be able to use this data to find ways to counteract any negative effects of space travel and make things safer for a time when humans might be able to live and work in space, on the moon or on Mars. The millions of Americans with medical debt may soon have one less thing to worry about. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, proposed a new rule to remove medical bills from most credit reports. The agency says this would help improve credit scores by an average of 20%. The CFPB says it's a good idea since its own research shows medical debt, unlike other kinds of debt, is not a good predictor of whether a person will repay a loan. But because of that debt, it's tougher for millions of Americans to get approved for a car loan, home loan, or small business loan, meaning both borrowers and lenders are missing out. That said, not everyone thinks this is the best idea. Some experts say the new rule might lead to more people just ignoring their medical bills completely. And if that happens, they worry hospitals will have to make up for those costs in other ways, like requiring payment before patients receive care. For now, the proposal is still subject to weeks of public comment before it can become official. It could go into effect, though, early next year. Ancestry.com has found a way to help build more Black family trees. The site has released a new collection of newspaper records from before 1870 related to more than 183,000 enslaved people in the U.S. And it's a big deal, since many of the articles contain information about people in places where courthouse and community records were otherwise destroyed or lost. The information includes names, ages, physical descriptions, and locations, as well as sensitive material related to the buying and selling of enslaved people. There are also ads out from people looking for slaves who had escaped. And thanks to artificial intelligence, all of this information is now searchable. It's also able to connect the names found in newspapers to other databases out there. And Ancestry.com is making all of this available for free. The site says this will mean a lot for families who have long suspected they had ancestors who suffered under enslavement. Now they'll finally be able to find them and name them, learn some of their stories, and feel more of a historical connection to those who came before them. If you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, you might be noticing something different on your timeline. The company has decided to start automatically hiding likes. So you'll be able to like posts and be able to see who likes your posts, but you won't get to see who liked other people's posts. And the likes tab is disappearing on user profiles. Owner Elon Musk confirmed this change, saying it's, quote, important to allow people to like posts without getting attacked for doing so. Some timelines have already been updated, and everyone is expected to see the change soon. There's a big change coming to one 4th of July tradition this year. Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest will go on without 16-time winner Joey Chestnut. Chestnut is known for eating a world record 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, and he's reportedly made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for his competitive eating. But now Chestnut is being banned from Nathan's because he struck an endorsement deal with vegan hot dog brand Impossible Foods. The Major League Eating Organization explained that Chestnut is not banned for life, but it says before he comes back, he'll have to renounce deals with any brands that rival Nathan's, like Impossible Foods. In the meantime, the Nathan's contest will be held without him on 4th of July, like usual. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, thanks to our sponsor, ZocDoc. If there's one place to have high standards, it should be for your doctor. I believe we all deserve doctors who are both knowledgeable and who care, who listen to our questions and concerns and answer them with full transparency. If you need to look a bit more to find that kind of doctor, check out ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you and instantly book appointments with them online. You can filter specifically for ones who take your insurance, are located near you, and treat basically any condition you're searching for. And these docs all have verified reviews from actual real patients. So we're talking about booking appointments with tens of thousands of top-rated, patient-reviewed, credible doctors and specialists. I check ZocDoc whenever I'm looking for a new doctor, and I appreciate how easy it is to search and use. So go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. A record number of American workers are now cheating on drug tests. One of the country's largest drug testing labs, Quest Diagnostics, reported more tampered tests than any time in the last 30 years. Quest says one common method is for an employee to substitute their urine sample with one from someone else. Other people use animal urine or synthetic urine they buy online. In most of those cases, the drug tests get classified as either substituted or invalid. Plus, there are a record number of tests just coming back positive. But no matter what, it counts as a failed drug test if the result is not just negative. When that happens, some companies will check in with a job candidate or employee to see if there was a valid reason for them failing the test, and sometimes they're retested. But other companies just go right to disciplinary action. As you might have guessed, the trend of more positive drug screens in recent years has been largely driven by marijuana. 24 states now allow recreational cannabis use, but even in those places, there can be company-wide policies that say workers need to be drug tested. Maybe not forever, though. With staffing shortages and more test failing and cheating, some employers have been forced to rethink their way of doing things. To be continued. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.